Kodak Black was only 12 when he started rapping with the group called Brutal Youngin. He released 3 mixtapes from 2013 to 2015, and when Drake posted a clip of himself dancing to Kodak's song Skirt, he was pushing the popularity that led to him signing a deal with Atlantic Records in October 2015. 2016 saw his major breakout into mainstream hip-hop success. He was featured on Lockjaw, French Montana's hit single that came out in May, which eventually hit the number 23 position on Billboard's Hot R&B and Hip Hop Songs chart. Meanwhile, Skirt was reached number 10 on a similar Billboard list. His music in 2016, especially from the mixtape Lil B.I.G. Pac, made it clear that he would make it far in the rap world. He is even named as one of XXL magazine's 2016 freshman class, along with other rappers like 21 Savage, Lil Uzi Vert, and Lil Yachty. His mumble rap style and punchy lyrics made a good combination, and he's now got a ton of platinum, gold, and silver records to his name. In November 2020, he released his 3rd studio album, Bill Israel, a nod to his legal name change and new religious affiliation. This wouldn't be all that interesting for a successful rapper, but what makes the release of this album different is that he was able to do it while locked up in a high-security prison in Kentucky. So just how did the ZZ singer end up behind bars? Let's go back all the way to the beginning as we take an exclusive look at the criminal history of Kodak Black. Kodak Black was born in Dawson, Octave, in Florida in 1997. He grew up with his single mom in the projects in Pompano Beach. As a kid, he knew that he really wanted to rap, so he started finding ways to record his songs when he was in elementary school. That ended up being the local trap house, which is not a very safe environment for a child. He was obsessed with writing music, so he spent most of his time reading the dictionary and thesaurus to get a better vocabulary. When he wasn't reading, he was breaking and entering neighborhood homes with his friends, and he even got kicked out of 5th grade for fighting. His first arrest happened when he was in middle school. Not a lot is known about the case, but the charges were for auto theft, so clearly there was a certain path that the rapper seemed to be headed down. Once he turned 18, his arrests started coming fast. His first one was in October 2015, and it came with a lot of charges. When Kodak was out driving one day, he was pulled over by traffic cops for a small traffic violation. When the cops talked to him, they found a few more problems, like a bit of weed in the car and a suspended license. No one knows what really happened after that, but somehow, Kodak ended up with charges of robbery, battery, 2 counts of false imprisonment of a child under 13, and 3 counts of false imprisonment of an adult. One report says that he forced several people into his car when he suspected one or more of them had broken into his house. He was released on bond and returned home to tweet, "If I could change, I swear I would. I tried everything, but I'm just so hood." A couple months later, in December 2015, he was arrested yet again, this time for possession of less than 2 pounds of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. The charge was light, so he was released on a small bond after getting booked. In February of 2016, an incident occurred that would lead to Kodak's arrest later in the year. On the 6th, Kodak had just finished performing at a show at Treasure City nightclub in South Carolina. After the show, the rapper brought a fan back to his hotel room with him. The girl was only a teenager at the time, but that didn't seem to matter to Kodak. According to the girl, the rapper attacked her once they were in the room, ripping her clothes off, biting her, and then sexually assaulting her, despite her telling him to stop. The victim didn't immediately report the crime to the police, but she did tell a nurse at her high school, who got the authorities involved. Of course, Kodak Black was long gone from South Carolina, so no charges were filed at the time as the investigation continued. Kodak Black wouldn't get to enjoy too much of his freedom though, because in April 2016, he was arrested again, this time in Hollandale Beach, Florida. Kodak had gone to buy weed from a dealer, but was spotted by police. He got into his car and drove away, but the cops followed him. They put on the lights and then the sirens to get him to pull over, but he panicked and started weaving through traffic, trying to get away. Eventually, he got far enough ahead that he pulled over and thought he could toss a weapon into a dumpster, but that plan failed. They saw him do it and were able to retrieve it, a loaded .40 caliber Glock 23 pistol. They also found the weed he had just bought, so we caught charges for possession of a weapon by a felon, possession of marijuana, fleeing the police, and a few traffic violations. Posted a $5,100 bond and was free to go. The next month, an old case would come back to haunt him when it was discovered that he had a few warrants out for his arrest for that first arrest in October 2015. There were apparently a few more things to follow up on with those false imprisonment and robbery charges, so he got locked up again. The charges came with a max sentence of 55 years, and the judge was not going to take it easy on him while he waited for his trial. He wanted Kodak Black to stay in jail and not just hop out after posting bail. He spent all of summer 2016 sitting in jail. When his case saw the court, he decided to plead no contest to all the charges, which basically means that he's not saying that he did the crime, but he's not saying he didn't. He was sentenced to a year of house arrest and 5 years probation, which is pretty good compared to 55 years in prison. The day after sentencing, the Project Baby was due in court for his official release, but the judge discovered that there were warrants for his arrest, including one in South Carolina. That's right, the investigation had gone through, and authorities wanted to arrest him for his assault on the girl in the hotel. They had upgraded the charges from misconduct to battery, a much more severe charge. So right when the judge was about to let Kodak go free on a light sentence of house arrest and probation, he decides that, nah, he's already in police custody, and this is a serious charge. So let's send him over to South Carolina so they can deal with him when we're finished. But Florida still had a bit of work to do with him. There was also another warrant released to the possession and paraphernalia charges from December. He pled no contest again and was sentenced to 120 days in prison. He also got his driver's license suspended and had to fork over $300 in court fees. Just 2 months into his sentence, Kodak Black was extradited to South Carolina to face the felony assault charges. Soon, Kodak was in cuffs and looking at a possible 30 years in prison. In court, he denied the charges and was held on a $100,000 bond, which he paid up after 3 days of sitting in the Florence County Jail. This case is yet to go to trial, so we'll have to wait and see how it turns out. After getting back home to Florida, the rapper settled into his house arrest. Kind of. He didn't do very well actually, because he violated the sentence by going to a strip club in Miami and getting in a fist fight with an employee. You're not really supposed to do these things on house arrest, so he was sent back to jail to await the sentencing of that charge. On April 26, 2017, he was found guilty of 5 counts of violating house arrest and received a full year in prison. The judge would take off half if he participated in life skills classes, which he did. He was released in June after serving only 97 days of his sentence. He was able to stay on the straight and narrow longer than other times, but it was still only 7 months before he was arrested again on January 18, 2018. Kodak had a bad habit of putting all his personal business on social media. He wasn't too careful about what he put because cops were soon alerted to an Instagram live video that showed the rapper passing around guns and weed, all while his small son was nearby. He was officially charged with grand theft of a firearm, 2 charges of possession of a weapon or ammo by a felon, possession of cannabis over 20 grams, child neglect, and 2 counts of parole violation. Kodak's lawyer insisted that the guns and drugs were just props for photos and videos that weren't real at all. Without any evidence, the prosecutors were forced to drop the charges of weapon possession and theft. Kodak did still have to face the charges relating to the weed and parole violation though. He pled not guilty, but the court disagreed. He was found guilty and sentenced to a year in prison, much better than the max sentence of 12 years those charges could have grabbed him. He was released in August 2018 and was finally able to get back into the studio to record new music, but only for a few months. On April 18, 2019, he was arrested at the US-Canada border, apparently trying to cross into Canada. The rapper says that he turned around and wasn't really trying to sneak into the country, but that wasn't the biggest issue. When he was caught by border police, they found a Glock and some marijuana in the car he was driving. He was arrested and booked, but released almost immediately after dropping a $40,000 bond. In May, just a month later, he was arrested on his way to perform at the Rollin' Loud Music Festival in Miami on gun-related charges. It's illegal for a felon to own a firearm, and Kodak still had those felony assault charges going on in South Carolina. He was taken into custody by the FBI to await trial. In November 2019, he took a plea bargain that resulted in a 4-year federal prison sentence.